Welcome to my channel, Wicked World, your go-to destination for scary and mysterious stories. Join us as we dive in and explore the world of wickedness. Today's story is a Reddit story. It was posted by an anonymous user. I'll leave a link down below if you guys are interested in reading it. Let's start today's story without further ado. I'm not going back to that cabin. I'll be the first to say that all this stuff could have taken place in my head. The mind is a freaky thing and can play some pretty trippy tricks on you. Whenever I was scared as a kid, my dad always told me that in life, you shouldn't be scared of ghosts. Fear the living, because they can actually hurt you. In my late teenage years, I came into some money after my father committed suicide, and I received an inheritance from him. At the time of my dad's passing, he and my mom owned a cabin up in Oregon at Mount Bachelor. The cabin had been put up for sale since my mom could no longer afford the payments and renting it out wasn't covering the payments either. The cabin was set to go on the market for sale in less than a month and was in the process of finalizing all the paperwork with the realtor and lawyer. So, for that month's time, the cabin wasn't going to be rented out any longer and was going to be vacant. I saw this as a chance to get away for a while and clear my head in light of all the things going on. I quit work, packed up my snowboarding gear, grabbed my dog, and headed up to the cabin in my dad's car that he had willed to me. Now, this was our family cabin that my parents rented out throughout the year when we weren't using it. I had keys to the cabin and also had the code for the alarms, so I didn't feel the need to stop at the rental management company and advise them of my stay. My first 2 days at the cabin were normal and nothing out of the ordinary happened. I spent my days playing with my dog in the snow or snowboarding, and in the evenings playing PlayStation or listening to music or drinking and smoking out on the balcony. I had already stocked up on food, cigarettes, and liquor, so I was pretty much a shut-in aside from the occasional out to hit the slopes. With my dog as company and DVDs and PlayStation as entertainment, I was quite content and started to feel relaxed after all the drama that had preceded my outing. The cabin itself was 2 stories. The bottom story had the living room and a side guest bedroom along with a small kitchen. Upstairs had another 2 rooms along with a walkout balcony attached to the master bedroom. Most of my time there was spent either in the living room, kitchen, or master bedroom. I never ventured into the other rooms and always kept the doors leading to them shut. Opening doors in dark rooms always creeped me out. The 3rd day came around and I was going through my usual routine of playing with my dog inside, playing games, and watching DVDs. My dog's name was Midnight, and he also since then has passed. The day there was pretty heavy snowfall, so I didn't feel like trekking down the hill to the main road in my car and decided to stay in. That's when things started to get a bit weird. In our area, there were only 2 other cabins adjacent to ours, maybe a block away from each other. All other cabins aside from these 2 were around a mile away from ours. Surrounding us was mostly forest and very tall pine trees. Tall trees, this is important later on. Both of these cabins were empty, and from the past couple of days I knew that no one was currently staying there. Now, this is where things get weird. Around midday, while outside with my dog, I noticed what looked like footprints in the snow around the area surrounding our cabin. It was still snowing, so the footprints looked semi-fresh, like someone had been there in the last 20 to 30 minutes before me. I thought that maybe someone was staying in the cabin near me that I may not have noticed. Maybe they were shut-ins like me. The footprints led away from my cabin and they disappeared in the snow towards the denser part of the trees. I disregarded the footprints and went back inside. Nighttime came around and I decided to head to bed. My dog, Midnight, was laying on the bed with me when I noticed his ears perk up to a standstill, like a listening position. This was followed by him quickly jumping off the bed and running downstairs to the living room. I lay in bed and stayed silent. I was kind of freaked out, and I could hear him moving around downstairs back and forth. After around 5 minutes, he ran back upstairs to me and started doing his doggy dance for the sign he had to pee, or that he wanted to go outside. I didn't want to go out, but, well, fine. I can't say no to him, so we both went downstairs to the outside driveway for him to do his thing. Only he didn't want to pee. As soon as we were outside, he started to pull on his leash, trying to drag me to where he wanted to go. He kept looking into the dense part of the trees where the prints had been earlier, but he also kept sniffing the side of the house and looking up towards the roof. After he figured out that I wasn't going to go to where he wanted, he sat himself down and just stared into the darkness. A bit unusual for him, but alright. Maybe there are forest animals out there that he wants to chase down. But I didn't want to take a chance with anything, so I pulled him back inside and we both headed back upstairs. Around half an hour later, I was lying in bed when I heard what sounded like hooves walking on my roof. It was only a series of around 6 steps. I rationalized that it could be a pine cone falling from a tree onto the roof, or maybe a kind-hearted forest animal running around. But here's the thing. The steps seemed to be spaced apart like a bipedal stride, so it was really freaking me out. Midnight also heard the noise and was quick to run to the balcony screen door, expecting for me to let him out. Alright, I'm a tough guy and at the time considered myself to be fairly well-built and strong enough to handle myself. So I grabbed my coat and shoes along with my cigarettes and flashlight and went out onto the balcony. As soon as I was outside, I lit up my cigarette and started canvassing the roof with my flashlight. Nothing there, and the snow on top was undisturbed. Weird. Must have all been in my head? What about Midnight hearing the noise? Maybe he was feeding off my fear or paranoia. I started to calm down and relax again. My eyes started to adjust to the darkness, and I kept smoking and just staring at the stars and trees next to our cabin. That's when I saw it. In a tree that was a little taller than our cabin and around 20 feet from the balcony, I saw what looked like a man crouched in a squatting position in between 2 branches. It looked really tall, like 8 or 9 feet tall, and it was really skinny. It was squatted on one branch, and its freakishly long, white arms were extended above its head, holding on to the branch above it, while its mouth was wide open with no expression. What the hell is that? I wasn't sure if I was really seeing this thing, and stood there, just staring, motionless. I noticed Midnight stand up and start pacing behind me and lightly barking at the same time. The thing still did not move. I put my cigarette out and was debating on shining the light in the thing's direction, but something in my head kept screaming not to. So I walked backwards to the inside of the room and pulled Midnight with me. Once inside, I locked the door and shined the light in the thing's direction, but there was nothing there. I shut the curtains to the screen door and retreated back to bed. But later on in the night, I heard some light tapping at the screen door, like someone was tapping on the glass with their fingers. It was consistent and didn't stop for nearly an hour. Midnight seemed to stare at the door, but he wouldn't go near it anymore. The weirdest part was that I had a feeling like someone was inviting me to open the door. But at the same time, I kept hearing my dad's voice in my head, telling me to stay in bed and not do it. I listened to my dad's voice and just stayed where I was. I passed out eventually and woke up in the morning. It didn't take me long to pack everything and get the hell out of there. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story today, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe for more content like this.